So for the ones who don't know me, hello everyone and good evening. I know for some of you it's really late. And my name is Heidi Cheng. I'm a lead program manager on the endpoint manager team. I've been, as I mentioned earlier, I've been with the team for 12, 13 years since the very first release of Intune. So now my team's charter is about the admin experience. What that means is that everything that when you log on to the MEM console, and maybe I should just start with the agenda first. So we will talk about the challenges with admin experience, and specifically I'll zoom into filters and reporting. And as I said, my team is really focusing on the admin experience of MEM Admin Center. And when you first log on to Intune, the MEM and Admin Center, you see like those primary objects that you deal with on daily basis, managing devices, deploying apps to those devices, securing those devices, and then after you take the actions, you want to see a set of reports, you want to see how things are going. And it's all kind of like you really live in this console, and a lot of like what you experience within this console is something that my team is very focused on, try to really help to understand any pain points, and try to really smooth the experience for you so that you're more productive. You can help your end users to achieve their productivity. So with that said, I'll focus on two areas that my team invested heavily in the past year. The first one is about filters. I don't know if any of you have heard about this new feature, preview feature we just announced back in May. We're super excited about this feature. We heard from a lot of customers how much they really wanted this feature to help improving on the grouping and targeting experience. As you know, that the MEM Endpoint Manager as a management tool, it always starts with, okay, the primary object of device, the users, the apps, the policies. So you want to deploy certain policies, apps to a group of machines, and how are you going to achieve that for the large deployments like this? And you start from organizing these devices and users into a group, and you apply a policy to this group. You assign policy to this group. And for the folks who are familiar with Intune history, Intune used to have our own groups many years ago. And about 3 to 4 years ago, we made a strategic decision to really move away from our own grouping objects. And instead, we're leveraging the Azure AD Groups, so that across so many Microsoft products and services, you can leverage the same set of groups that you're managing. And that provides you the convenience of, like, you can use the same AD group for conditional access, for role-based control, for grouping and targeting, reporting. So very streamlined process of all. And what we do notice, though, is that for the AD groups that Intune leveraging for this large deployments, it has its some issues, like it's very slow. Sometimes it gets really slow to evaluate. Actually, I was just on a call with a set of customers prior to this call, and that was a direct feedback they gave us, like, oh, it's just sometimes it's just way too slow. I really can't use the dynamic groups. And For the existing dynamic groups, you have a set of attributes you can use to create a groups, and those are still fairly limited. And Intune as a device management tool, Intune has knowledge about so many different properties. And so how we can really leverage the Intune's knowledge to provide more granular targeting. That's one thing a lot of customers have been asking about. And dynamic device groups has some delays, and the exclusion group has some issues. And when you are like deploying to a user group, how do you get really even more granular about like to a user group, but only to the devices that meet certain criteria? So with all these different challenges, that's how like we really want to improve on how to help you to do grouping and targeting, and that's really how we came up with the filters concept. So basically, filters really allow the admins to either include or exclude the devices on top of a group that you already have. So you can continue to leverage your existing groups. You don't have to recreate things, but then you can really zoom in within that group. And this filter object is really query based. So based on the properties that the filters support, for a specific platform, you can really build you have very similar experience as you creating an AAD dynamic group. So it's really like query based. You can select certain properties, and you can use the different operators to define what values you want to match with. And lastly, but really the best thing about the filters is that it's not like you write a query, you run it, and then it's gone. It's actually a reusable object we keep within MEM. So after you create this object, you can really layer this filter on top of any other assignments, other groups as you wish. So it's more efficient because you probably want to apply the same criteria to many different deployments in your organization, like deploy the app to my corporate devices, deploy this policy to my corporate devices. So it's just different deployments, but you probably have a set of criteria that you want to repeatedly use. So that's really what the filters is about. And then one last thing to mention is that this preview feature for MEM, we have the same level of support, just like any other features that we already made publicly available, generally available to use. So even though it has the preview label, the support level is the same. The reason it still has the preview label is that we hold our quality on a pretty high bar. We want to make sure that we have the horizontal completeness, making sure that the filters can be used for almost all the workloads that have the assignment needs can use the filters. So right now we have a few workloads that can support filters, but not all of them, because product team each has their own schedule, and they really have to align the schedule carefully. And sometimes some can get sooner, some has to come later. So with that said, please feel free to start playing with the feature, testing the feature, and even using the feature just like in your production. We do have a lot of customers already adopted this feature and started giving us feedback. Please let me know if I need to pause and answer some questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. So for our first preview, these are the set of device properties that we support for when you write a query. And it's platform specific. So like, for example, if it is rooted, that's very specific to Android platform. So you probably won't see that if you select a different platform, just to keep that in mind. And as we go, we're looking to onboard more device properties we can support in the query. We know this is really our first iteration, and we will keep adding more properties. And we already heard a lot of customer feedback with a lot of enthusiasm that, oh, we need this property, like, is the device compliant, or is this in the supervised mode, or if this is a hybrid AD joined device or a AAD joined device. We really want to make that distinction. So please keep getting the feedback flowing to us and to help us to prioritize the next set of the device properties we should support, and we'll keep listening. So with that, we will just give a few examples about how you really apply the filters on top of AAD dynamic group to get granular targeting. One example is that for your users in the finance group, that you only want to deploy a corporate expensive application to the corporate-owned devices, not their personally owned devices. Or you want to exclude some contractors or some other vendors for a certain deployment. Or it's an LOB app to all devices, but the app itself has some limitation that you really want to specify. It's the version of 10.1 and above for certain form factors or OEMs. You can specify that as well. So those are just examples, and I'm sure that for each one of you, you have your own very specific needs and what properties you're looking to use to really narrow down on the devices that you want to touch and deploy, and very specific. So just to keep that in mind. This diagram kind of illustrates how you use filters for the policy and app assignments. First of all, you create this reusable object that you create that, and it's query based. That's the first step. And then you look at your assignments that are already assigned to a dynamic group or AD group that you target for large deployments, but you want more granular targeting, so you put your filter on top of that, and Intune gets your instruction. Behind the scenes, in number 3, we have a very robust filter evaluation engine that when the device first enrolled or the subsequent check-ins, then it will see if there's a filter that it needs to evaluate. And if the device, based on these properties, that if the device match with the filter, should be include or exclude for the policy assignment. So that's really the evaluation part. And so that's done behind the scenes, but it will eventually manifest on the device itself. And we have the feedback loop for the device to report back saying, oh, it's been evaluated for me, and I matched the criteria, and I got a policy, or otherwise it didn't meet the criteria, so the policy didn't apply. So that's really to close the loop on, okay, I applied the filters, and now I know who gets the filters and who didn't. With me so far? And this is our UI for creating a filter object based on the device properties, and I'll do a live demo for that as well. So you first just give it a name and description, and then you select from the list of the device properties, and you choose the operators to your liking with different values that support. And for more advanced users, you can even just directly play with the rule syntax so that you can have more complex queries that you can write. Like you can set precedence with the different like parentheses. You can nest your parentheses that you don't get out of the basic query builder. So after that is done, then you can see like you go to a specific policy and you look to do the assignment. I hear some background noise. And then here you can decide where you apply the filters on top of the group that you already assigned to, and you decide on the mode of the filter. And after that, you can pick what filters that you already pre-created and apply on top of that. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the overview chart, this is where the evaluation happens. The filter evaluation engine will just look at the filter mode, if it's in or out, and the filter result, if it's a match or not, and then it computes the overall result if the filter gets applied or did not get applied. So then report back with if the filter is a match or is not a match. So then that's really where your reporting is for the filter. Okay, I'll do a quick demo for that. All right, so on the Intune console, there are 3 different entry points to get to filter creation. And you actually will get to the same place where you created filters. This is like different entry points. It's just really for for the affinity of where you are on the console. Like if you work more closely with the apps, then it's in the apps space. Or you can, of course, go to the tenant admin to do that. Or if you're on the device, then you can see the filters here. And if you're in the app space, the filters here. But all in all, they're actually like you will get to the same place where you can create the filters. And since this filters feature is still in preview, this is where you can toggle the filters. Like by default, it's switched off, and you opt into this preview feature by turning it on. So I already toggled it on, and you can just toggle it back to not want to use it. You can turn it off. So that's really to your needs. And once it's on, you can do a create. So I'll just quickly do a demo one. And this is where you pick the platform. So the filters are still very specific to the device platform. And it will offer you based on the platform for what device properties you can use. So in this case, just by creating a filter, I just pick iOS platform. And then I choose a property of device ownership. This is where I can define if it's a corporate owned or personally owned device. And as you can see, after I define the query, the syntax is automatically created for you. And in the syntax builder, you can actually write even more complex query for that. And if I missed something and try try to save it, it will tell me I got something wrong. So there's syntax check as well. And now you can see it, it's good to go. And I hit OK. I go next. This is really like for me to review what I did, and then the filter gets created. So, and from here you can see the list of the filters that you pre-create, and when you do that, the real assignment, you can pick and choose from there. And the same pattern, just for all other list view, you can do deletion right from there. You can do search. You can do the sort on those headers. So all the standard operations you can do on the console for a list view. So that's the creation piece. And once you created your filters, then that's where you can consider an assignment. So I have for demo purpose, I have two Windows applications, and one is really what I want for all my corporate-owned devices to install, and the other one is really for personal use. I want to make sure that my corporate-owned devices don't use them. So in that spirit, I already pre-created a filter that just for demo purpose, so we can review what's already defined there. And it's just it's on the Windows platform, and it's a corporate owned. So then I go back to my app list, and I review my assignment. So this is where my assignment has. When you click on edit, you go in and you can see I already picked a group for assignments. This is my group name. And this is where I can pick and choose what filters I can apply. So first I need to decide if I want to use it as an include or an exclude for filtering. And then I can pick and choose what kind of filters I want to use. It has test filter, it has just another filter I pre-created, or the corporate-owned filter that I previously shown. And as you probably noticed, that for demo purpose, I created a filter for iOS. And in this view, you don't actually see that filter. The reason is that because the app itself is a Windows app, so it already has some intelligence that filter out the non-applicable filters for you. I know we use filter a lot, so so in here, just keep in mind that why that one didn't show up. So as I already selected, I use the corporate-owned filter, and I do the select, and this is really, after I'm done, I have the group and I have the filter on top of it. So then after this filter is applied and deployed, then how are my device doing? That's really the reporting aspect of it. So I have one device that I want to deploy the apps to. So this is where I can see for this device, and this is the new node for the filter evaluation, that you can actually see the actual result. And for the one that I deployed with this filter, I can see, okay, this device does match, and I can see the result, the evaluation time, everything I need to know about the filter. So that's the per device view. And on the app side, we also have a similar view for the filter evaluation. So you go to this specific app, and you want to see how the installation status look like. And this is also new, where you can see the filters being applied, evaluated, same result. So it's just a different pivot of the app of the filter, and you can see here the app gets offered. So you know for sure that the filter is being applied to this device for this specific app. All right, so that's the quick demo of the filters feature. Come back to the slides. So just to summarize on the filters feature, we really encourage you to start playing with it if you haven't done that. And I'd love to hear feedback from you about what you'd like to see of the filters feature. And as we go, we're really looking to get this feature generally available soon, with more workloads onboarded to use to allow filters to be sitting on top of the groups, and so that you all can benefit from the filters ability of granular targeting. So that's really one area that we heavily invested in the past many months. We have a lot of PMs, engineers working on this feature to be where we are today. And we were super excited of the preview feature. It's been around for a bit more than a month, and we already saw a great adoption from a lot of customers. And after that, that's another area I really like to talk about. So when we talk about reporting, I don't know what you are thinking about, like some specific reports you run on daily basis. You use that to report to your management chain about how things are doing with all the device management, or for a specific deployment that when you target to, like, just the example, like when you deploy an app, you want to see how it's doing, or when you have a feature, have a software update, a patch, security patch, you really want to see that's being applied to all the devices in your environment so that it's secure. And that, though all these aspects are really in the realm of reporting, and we have a large infrastructure behind the scenes supporting the data ingestion and then the data output so that it presents on the MEM console for reporting purpose. So I'd like to start with, like, what kind of reports you're actually seeing on the MEM console. So we kind of categorize them into, like, operational reports that's really give you the timely feedback to help you focus and take action. And that's really where you see, like, right now it's under, like, monitor node, and you have so many different things you can look at: assignment status or failures, or encryption, certs, all the things you care about after you deploy them. And it's summarized on, like, what kind of errors, what kind of success rate, and you can quickly take action based on that. And you probably focus on the failures more than anything else to solve issues. So those are the operational reports built in the console. And then the next category is the organizational reports. That provides a summary overview of your environment. It aggregates a lot of data that MEM knows about your environment and helps you to really have a very big picture of the environment. Like, for example, device compliance: how many devices are compliant and how many are not, and why they're not, for legit reasons, or is there something you need to help your end users to troubleshoot. So, but that's really the overview that you you can give to your C-level managers or whatnot to help understand the environment. And then over time, you also want to look at the trend of things, how things are going. And that's really the historical reports that Intune can provide. It provides the pattern and trends over a period of time. And that's really also for your managers and admins to look at. And yes, the last one, specialist, that's for you, like Stefan, that you just in the chat window talked about MS Graph for reporting needs. That's definitely what we see, especially with a lot of large enterprise customers. They have so many different data sources that they really want to correlate and report on. So MEM provides one aspect of your environment, and you run the specialist reports, and you combine that, correlate that with other data sources or data lake and stuff like that. And you can have a very comprehensive view of the environment. So we will get into that in the later slides of these reports. And if you are around long enough, you probably have the same gripe or complaints about like the old way, the old look of our reports. That is just the searching, the filtering, the sorting. Sometimes we don't have it, or even when we have it, it's pretty limited. And it's just like, and it's on the client side, it's like per page, so you have to go through paging. It's really painful, and a lot of them don't really have the export capability. You can't even get the data out like by just looking at the list view, and you cannot export. And I think I talk about the paging, so you have to go through the load more to have more data, and it just doesn't help you to scale. So that's really we say the old way, or we know that those are the pain points. And in the past year or so, I think we announced it at Ignite 2019, that we're actually having a more robust and newer reporting infrastructure to help improve on the experience on the console. So the new way of doing that is that we really want to provide server side of computations to give you more performance search, sort, and filter. And on the UX piece, the user experience side, we have more common controls that you're familiar with in other Microsoft services, the paging, the column selection, the filter pill that you can use for filtering are more standardized and more aligned with other services. And lastly, but really important one, is that we have better data export experience so that you can quickly get the data out of Intune. And we keep hearing that from the customers. Yeah, it's a cloud service and the data is mine, but how do I get the data out so that I can I can play with my data more and I can correlate my data? So those are the things we're really invest heavily to help improve on. And Intune or MEM is such a large, comprehensive product that has many years of history. So we're really like chipping things away and trying to improve on reports. But I think to our last inventory count, we have probably around 80 different reports in the MEM console. So the mileage could vary. That's in some areas, like the screenshot I have here, we have huge improvements, but we know we still have a long way to go. So with that, this is just a list of the reports that we already done the improvements, that you can see that they're more performant, they have better search, sort, and filter, and we still need to work on the data for enrollment, autopilot, and feature the quality updates, stuff like that, and more log analytics reports for the specialist. So I want to spend a little bit time about what you can do for customized reports. So Intune, as I said earlier, Intune already has so many reports to serve your daily needs, but we understand there's always some reports that you want to customize, you want to do on your own, and there are different ways of doing that. The data warehouse, we've had it for many years. It's a MEM-hosted platform to access the historical and aggregated data that we don't expose through the admin console. So that's always there. And then we have, with this new reporting infrastructure, we now actually have really robust export APIs that you can export large amount of data very quickly. So that's something that a lot of enterprise customers start adopting and pretty happy with the export APIs. And we really encourage you to look into that as well. The last one, the Azure Monitor Log Analytics, that's our Azure Monitor service, can help you to aggregate, analyze the data from different sources. For reporting, I see the chat window. So for reporting, we can't say it's real time for anything. Like, it actually still needs to go through the ingestion process, and then we munch data, we massage data, and we present. But our goal is to really provide as near time as possible. I just want to set the right expectation. It's not like instantaneously you deploy the app and then you see the results right away. That's our goal, but there's always some latency, the device check-in time, for the data to travel inside our pipeline. There's always some time, some delay for that, but it's fairly quick. That's what I can say. So for just a little bit comparison, so for the old APIs, are kind of the old way of doing reporting. We have this all graph, the MS graph, all pages. That was like you have to get the data downloaded page by page. It's pretty painful and it doesn't really scale well through the Intune PowerShell SDK. So a lot of customers really unable to really use that for the large data set. So with that in mind, the improvement we did was that we built a new export API that serves all the reports onboarded to the new reporting infrastructure. And so instead of waiting for many hours to get access to the data, now you can download hundreds of thousands of rows in seconds or minutes. So it's already a huge improvement, and you can filter and do localization, have localization capabilities in the export API. Any plans on improving the discovered app data? So as far as I know, we already did some improvements on the back end for discovered apps. I'm not sure about the cleaning up stale data. I have to really check back with our app PM. Thanks for the good question. And in case I missed any previous questions, we can come back to these after at the end of my presentation. I just see the pop-ups and then I just answer if I catch it for now. yeah, so I think I have another environment that I wanted to kind of like quickly show. So one improvement area that we did was on the all device list. As far as we heard from the customers, this all device list has been heavily used by many customers, and this is like really where they get the device inventory. They can account for all the devices that they manage through MEN. And with the column picker, you can pick what columns you want to see, and you can do an export. And the improvement that we did was that we have so many hardware inventory properties, and we probably like cannot accommodate every single one of them to be a column here. But as the export, we can always give you the full dump of all these columns, all these properties. So you have the option to either only include the selected columns for export, or you can export all of them. But at least you have the choice, and it's a lot easier for you to do the export. So that's one improvement we did in a couple of months ago. And as I mentioned earlier, like things under the current monitor node, that's for the operational reporting that you can do. You can do troubleshooting quickly. You can find issues quickly. And there are so many reports underneath this, under the monitor, for both devices and apps. And within apps, I think we already got questions around discovered apps and whatnot. So I think we have discovered apps. Like on the back end, the computation is a lot faster, but from the front end, you probably don't see the nice sorting and filtering capabilities yet, but those are things that we're working on. And then for the reports node, that's really where our organizational reports and trend report, like historical reports, specialist reports, that's where you see all these in one node that you can look for the reports. And there are just different types that we support. We call it kind of the pre-canned reports that you can do, and you can load. And we're still really doing a lot of improvements in those areas. So I think I'm out of time, if I have my timing right. So I want to open up the floor for more questions. If I missed answering questions now, I guess it's the time to look through them. Holly, how should we do that?
Sorry, Heidi. So it looks like you're caught up on the IM window, except for the last question that was just received. And I think if anybody at this point just wants to come off mute, since we're already done with the presentation, Heidi can go ahead and answer any of those questions. But there was one last question that was posted in the IM window if you want to address that. And then, like I said, anybody that wants to come off mute, we'll give you guys about five minutes, because there is we still have the open Q&A, correct?
Yep, that's true.
Yep. Okay.
Any plans for software metering? I take that's a question for me. I honestly don't really know, because that's more on the app side. So I can take this question back to our app PM and get back to you, but I don't have a good answer for that.
Heidi, would it be easy if I just sent an email so that you could follow up without losing track of it? Okay.
That'd be super.
Yeah. It's like 4 years ago for us, right, Heidi?
Yeah, good team.
That's right.
It would be cool if we could have a KQL editor to look for devices based on their properties. Okay, so Arya, if I pronounce your name correctly, I think you were asking, like in the all device list, like kind of the filter capability, but it's more of a query based, like what we did for the filters feature, than having them here. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that would kind of make it more unified. For example, with the security portal, where you have the advanced hunting, and you have, or even Azure with Sentinel, you could use KQL. So if you could kind of use that language property to also use it here, I think that would kind of make a very good chill. I mean, also very more broader than just the options here. You could just say, these are your device, these are the schema, and then build your own query as you like. You won't have to kind of build out the filter in a UI kind of way, right?
Great feedback. We were thinking something along the line, or even leverage the existing established rules, like when you create the AD groups or when you create the filters, those rules like are already stored on Intune side, and how we can leverage them so that you don't have to recreate them again just for filtering. Because oftentimes you probably just really want to leverage your existing scope of or data set for this kind of inventory reports. Yeah, but definitely hear your feedback on that. Thank you. What is the use of this search box? I was wondering the same as my intro earlier. I was away from Intune for a few years, and when I saw this search, I wasn't really too clear about it. And we're iterating on that, and hopefully we can have better search capabilities. Like global search was one of the asks from the customers. That yeah, why don't I just type something and my key objects are just returning to the console? So
in the same way as it is in Azure probably now, like you type in something in the portal that it will give extra information in the same way in the Intune portal then.
Yeah, kind of lump that under the global search. So
and then maybe also integrated with the docs probably like it is in Azure now. If you type something in you're looking for, you get all the links to the docs directly from there, and maybe that's great. Maybe something interesting also. I think that's probably what they mean with the question.
I see. Okay. I think there's an autopilot question. Probably not really for me. Anything else related to what I've just presented?
I'm looking to it. If anybody has another question for Heidi, you can unmute, like Holly said, and just ask her. It's maybe easier than us looking through the chat.
It's starting to get very, very.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions in there, but not directly for which question is for who.
Yeah.
It's not threaded, so I can't tell if it's really for me or for.
So you can just unmute and ask a question if you want. It's maybe easier.
We also used to have a best practice where we would at the presenter that the question was geared towards, as most of our presenters have already dropped off the call. So that's just something to consider for future maybe.
So if you have any questions for Lisa, Heidi, and the others, you can ask us and we will pass them through if you want.
And if anything should come up after the call that you're top of mind, I have a point of contact with all 4 of the presenters. I'm always happy to help out with any follow-ups as well, but not to overstep.
Yep.
All right, well, if that's it, Heidi, you did an amazing job. It was so nice to see you. Great topic, great conversation. Thank you so much for your time and for jumping in 5 minutes early for us. So I appreciate it.
Really, thanks for your time and for your session, Heidi. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, my
Thanks a lot,
pleasure.
Heidi.
And it's always fun to talk about our Intune admin. So I'd love to hear your feedback. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, at that, I mean, other than the open Q&A that will follow after this, it was such a pleasure to have everybody. Thank you for the 50 plus people that ended up joining with all the different time zones, and to the MC group that set all this up. This was amazing. I'm so happy that I got to listen in. The 6 of you did such an amazing job coordinating and creating such a special event. I do think you all deserve a huge round of applause. And at that, if you want, I can pronounce the winners for the swag that we mentioned.
I will share my screen. So
All right.
we're all there, I think.
All right, so for the 2 Amazon vouchers, Jacob and Nicholas Lacour, the team will be reaching out to you to find the best way to get you the voucher. And then for Peter DeTender's book, Joran, Nikki, Carl, and Gregor Remling. So you guys have all received Peter's new book, and those are the winners. Thank you so much for the support during this event, the fun tweets, the animal pictures, the cat pictures, and all the laughter. So all the questions, the feedback, super, super appreciated. And for everybody who attended, thank you. And all the coordinators, this was a great event. If there's anything else we can help you with, follow up.